السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So today we're gonna start back the series we were doing on the life of a balanced Muslim. So last time we talked about hygiene and everything. Now we're gonna talk about the mind. So we usually remember to nourish our body. When we are hungry, we give it food, and when we feel like stressed or we're tired, we let it rest. But we usually forget to nourish our mind. And why we have to do it? Well, it's because it's a favor of Allah. It is a ni'mah of Allah to have this intellect. Actually, Allah says in the Quran, "Indeed, we have dignified the children of Adam, carried them on land and sea, granted them good and lawful provisions, and privileged them far above many of our creatures." So He shows us that He put us above by giving us this gift of the intellect. And He also says, "And Allah brought you out of the wombs of your mother while you knew nothing, and gave you hearing, sight, and intellect, so perhaps you would be thankful." So again, He shows us that He gave us this gift, and because He gave it to us, we have to be thankful. And the way of being thankful is by taking care of it. Because when you have something, a gift that you have, and you really like this gift or you love it, you take care of it. You want to cherish it. And so the way to be thankful to Allah with this gift, it's to develop the mind, to nourish it, and to let it rest and put it like at the place that it should be. So we have to remember, a few centuries back, we were of the best generation, of the best societies that there was. But between the 9th and 14th century, there was the golden age of Islam, and during that time, we were of the best by in the terms of developing technologies and in the sciences and philosophy and everything. And this started by the traduction of some of the works of other countries to Arabic, and then we learned and we got better at stuff, and we became the great society and the great community that they were at the time. And so this shows us that to have a great Islamic community, a great Islamic society, we cannot neglect the fact that we have to learn and develop ourselves also as a society by developing infrastructures and everything. So I'll give some of the examples, and there are some very, very well-known scholars around the world, like Ibn Sina, who is known as Avicenne in the European world. He was a great philosopher, a great doctor. He has many writings on surgery, and he was also an expert in astronomy, in alchemy, philosophy, and Islam. So all of these things, you don't have to learn one thing and leave all the rest. So Islam, we know the Deen, Quran, and Sunnah, it is an obligation for us to learn it. It's an obligation. That doesn't mean you have to forget all of the rest, because if you were to do so, we would not exist as a community, or we would be forgotten. Someone that only takes care, let's say, of his spirituality, only of this, little by little, the other societies, they will get better, they will get stronger. And if they wanted to shut you down, they would, because they're more powerful than you. They have now weapons, they have infrastructures, they have everything, they have the numbers. If you don't focus also on the other part of the knowledge of the dunya, you will one day be forgotten. And this is not the ambition of Islam. The ambition of Islam is to propagate and to spread his message. You cannot spread your message if you are of the lowest of the weakest societies. And there are also a lot of other names like Abu Ali al-Hassan, which was a great mathematician and physicist. He had a great book about the geometry of optics, and so they will have a lot of development at that time about the lens, like the to make telescopes and everything. So they had great works there. Also Al-Batani, who was well known as the Ptolemy of the Arabs. So he was like a great astronomer, and he made also corrections to the calculations of Ptolemy, and his works were also translated back to the other languages so the Europeans could use it, and then they're still anonymously used. So these people, they were all really well known for their works in sciences, but also they used to also have a good akhlaq and um, good good Islamic knowledge. Basically, they used to learn a lot also about Islam, not only about this. So it was a balanced life, a balanced intellectual life, and it's also of the way of the prophets alayhim salam to have these developments. Like we know, Dawood alayhi salam, he got the capacity given from Allah to like change the form of the iron. So he made it easy for him, and Allah told him to make a thobe of iron, like an armor, but of metal. And this was not common at all at this time. The iron armor, or like the metal armor, got popular like centuries after. But this is like an engineering development which was encouraged by Allah, and it shows us that even like the prophets, they were also looking to be developing their ways, not only on a religious way, but also on a technological way and everything. Idris alayhi salam also was known to know how to sew. I think this the name in French. It's de coudre, couture, but I think the name is sew. So he had like this capacity, and he could help people about about this. Like he could sew some clothing and everything. He had something that he learned, and he could make benefit the community, his community. And so you see, like all of these people, the very important people who knew how to learn and tried to learn of the dunya. And so, how do we want to develop the mind? We have to make to read, but like readings that have a benefit for us. So, like I said before, of course, Quran and Sunnah. This is most important, and it is an obligation upon us to learn this. It's an obligation. But we don't have to negate all of this, and I'm not going to talk a lot about this subject, about the Quran and Sunnah. A little bit. When we read, Allah, He tells us to contemplate. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. We have to, when we read, also contemplate and try to understand what we're reading. It's not only reading. And He tells us many times in the Quran to try to contemplate. Do they not contemplate this Quran? And Ali bin Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, he said, there is no good in worship without knowledge. So if you worship, but you don't know the one you're worshiping, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know why you're doing, you don't know anything, there's no good in this worship. Nor in knowledge without understanding. So if you have knowledge but you don't understand, you can't use the knowledge. The knowledge, it's made to be used. So if you have knowledge, let's say, of the Quran, but you don't understand the what you're reading, you can't make it happen in your life. You can't make it like the way of your life if you don't understand it. And nor in recitation without reflection. So if you only recite, but you never reflect on what you recite, what is the good? You can get a lot of good, by reflecting on what you read and understanding it, and then putting it in your life, applying it to your life. And of course, by studying. But this is like of the most more dunya part. By studying, we have a lot of kids. They want now, well, like teenagers and stuff. They want to only focus on deen and never like don't look back, don't study anything else. But this is not the way of our religion. Our religion, it encourages us to go and learn stuff. And if you have the good intention, it will benefit you, and it's part of your religion. Allah, he tells us many times in Quran to contemplate His signs. So in Surah Al-Baqarah, He says, "Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, the alternation of the day and the night, the ships that sail the sea for the benefit of humanity, the rain sent down by Allah from the skies, and reviving the earth after its death, the scattering of all kinds of creatures throughout, the shiftings of the winds, and the clouds drifting between the heavens and the earth. In all of this are surely signs for people of understanding." So you see, he's naming all of these things, these incredible things, but if you don't understand, you can't make benefit of it. You don't see them as signs. If you just look at the sky, you've always seen the sky. If you don't contemplate it, you just say, "Oh, it's been always there. It's not a sign to me." But if you understand, let's say you're meteorologist, you study the weather or stuff, you're gonna understand it differently. There's the wind, the clouds, how they drift, the creatures, how they've been brought out of the earth. This is all signs for people who understand them. So we have to study, and there are many things like that. Like there are a lot of ayats about the growing up of the fetus. So when we are nothing to growing, and we pass the many stage and get to a like getting out of the mother's womb. And these ayat, let's say someone who studied biology, he's going to understand it very, very, very much more in deeper levels than much more than someone who doesn't know it. And so for him, when he hears these ayat, he really sees them as sign, because he's been studying them all his life. And now he hears about that in a Quran which was revealed centuries and centuries ago. Now he really feels like this is strengthening his iman. And there's many, many stuff like that, like many other passages. Although Allah also, He says in, well, you see, in 1929, Hubble, you probably know this name. He was an astronomer. He used to look at the stars and the galaxies, and he noticed that year after year they used to get further and further. He didn't understand why. And this was the first experimental evidence of the universe expanding. But you see, Allah in the Quran centuries and centuries ago, more than 1,000 years ago, He said, وَالسَّمَاءَ بَنَيْنَاهَا بِأَيْدٍ وَإِنَّا لَمُوسِعُونَ. And He says, we are the sky that we created, we are the expanders. We are the one expanding it. Imagine someone who studied all his life, and even like not even 1 century ago found out about this, thinks it's the greatest thing he ever discovered, and sees that it was revealed in the Quran centuries and centuries ago. Imagine how much it will strengthening in his iman. One ayat like this can make someone enter Islam, because he studied before. And it's also like the other parts, right after, it says, وَمِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَا زَوْجَيْنِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. Of all things, we've created in pairs. And in 1959, we discovered experimentally that there were, for every particle, an antiparticle. For every quark, an anti-quark. The quarks are the ones who make the particle. Everything was created in pairs. You see someone who discovered this, not even a century ago, and thinks also it's like the greatest thing that he ever saw. And it was revealed in the Quran more than 1,000 years ago. How much it will strengthen his iman. It's the way of the religion to seek knowledge and seek the knowledge of the creation of Allah. This will make you really understand what he says about when he says, there are signs for those of understanding. When you look at the sky, there are signs. And the alternating of the day and the night, there are signs. But if you understand, we have to strengthen our mind by trying to read more, trying to understand more, trying to learn more. And this is the way of the religion. And getting away from the bad things. So drugs, alcohol, stuff like the TikToks and Instagram Reels, stuff that can't, like, it makes you get away from the way of learning. Like when you scroll, you destroy your attention span. Some people now, they can't even read one page. Can't you read the start of the page, finish the page? You can't. You're not concentrated anymore. SubhanAllah. How can you even read? How can you even understand or learn something if you're like this? This is happening to our youth. Try to focus more on also at school to learn more, to try to develop your mind, because it's, like I said in the beginning, it's a favor of Allah. It's a ni'mah of Allah. And giving it its importance, this is how you show it your gratefulness. This is how you show your gratefulness. If you don't, then you show that you don't really care about it. You just let it be. And you're going to be like the people who just look at the signs, but it doesn't strengthen their iman. They don't understand. This would be really, really missing something. So I hope you'll do it, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.